Hello and welcome back. Sorry, we had a battery failure there, so this is now moving on to part two. Welcome to part two. Now what we've got here is we're just talking about Hercules and some of the things to watch for in behaviour and spending time with the snakes. Now, I was just saying that if you have a snake that his heart is beating really hard because it's nervous or worried, you'll see the body movements in a snake that's not really, is frightened and scared. And I would recommend is not to handle him, put him or her back into the rub, into the hide, and just gently bring them out to get used to you. You don't want to spend too much time with a snake that's in a scared mode, because all you're doing is you're reinforcing him in his scared mode. You want him to build confidence with you. So I'd say little and often, or maybe little and not so often, but gently. Every snake has a different personality. We were very blessed. Hercules, as soon as he arrived, he was so loving and so kind. I thought, my goodness me, this snake, it's got such a lovely nature. And my banana boy is the same way. So you get some snakes that have got really soft, placid natures, others that are really scared, and you've got to be able to read that body behaviour so that you spend time with them at what suits them, not what suits us. So thank you, Hercules. You've been an absolute star for us. Lovely to have you here. So what I wanted to do next is I wanted to discuss some of the feedback that we've had on the mites videos that we've been putting out. So we've got a few comments to share. Wayne came up with a couple of good ideas to add to the mites protection. He uses a substance called diluted hibiscus crub for cleaning his hands and his rubs, and he uses disposable gloves. Sorry?
Hibby scrub.
Hibby scrub, is it? Thank you, Mandy. Hibby scrub was. Do you know what Hibby scrub is? I've got no idea what it is.
Yeah, use it in hospitals.
Okay, so they use it in hospitals, Hibby scrub. So Mandy's done a little bit of nursing in her in her past, and I've never realised they use that. So thank you, Wayne, for sharing that. And I'm guessing you can get that at any chemists or any person that, I don't know whether the supermarkets do it, maybe. But that's an idea. The other thing is Kevin's come up with an idea, which is he reckons that once a week he soaks his snakes in warm water, and he uses what they call a Dawn dish soap. So I've got no idea what a Dawn dish soap is. And again, Mandy might know better than I do. I don't know if you've heard of that before, Mandy. No, Mandy hasn't. So he uses a Dawn dish soap, and then what he does, he puts some olive oil on both hands, and he just lets his snake crawl through his hands. And the oil he puts on is little to, I think he said it was little to medium base of oil. And then he lets the snake pass through his hands, or he might use a paper towel like Jared demonstrated on the demo. And then he cleans the hides and the rubs every 3 days. So there's another technique that people use. So thank you very much, Kevin, for your ideas. Kaz has come up with a question. She says, is it okay to use diluted Dettol instead of using the more expensive F10? So we use this F10 over here. Jared buys it. I can't remember what we pay for it, but I think it's quite expensive for one of those. This is what vets recommend to us, and it is reptile friendly and safe. I think Dettol's very strong, Kaz. I think that's why you dilute it, but I've never used it myself. But I'm going to put a question out to our viewers. Does anyone else use diluted Dettol, and if so, what are the pros and cons? Perhaps you can put that in the comments, and we'll see how that looks. And then the other person that's given us some feedback is Chris B. Now he reckons that going in barefooted or with overshoes is a good way of protecting your facility. Now you'll notice that I like to go in with bare feet anyway, and that's mainly because it's quite warm in here. It's like the tropics. And I wear shorts and a t-shirt, so every time I come in my facility I feel like I'm on holiday, and I love it. And it's my little bit of paradise. So I go barefooted, but I make sure I shower and bathe myself before I come in. So I'm clean, because remember we've got a hospital and we've got a quarantine area in the house, which I will be helping Jared with those issues. So I've got to make sure that I am clean clothed, clean hands, I have a shower. I've got to treat my facility as I'd expect others to treat my facility, which kind of leads me on to another question that Chris B put out. He thinks that there should be 100% transparency between the seller breeder and the buyer, and I suggested that we've got to be careful going in and out of people's facilities. And I think what Chris was saying is, he says that it's important for us to see the parents and to see the quality of the rubs and the way in which the whole of the facilities are all working out. So it turns out to me that there's a very fine balance, isn't there, in lockdown particularly, that you can't go into people's facilities anyway. So all the snakes we've been buying from Europe, I've got people to send me video clips of their facilities and their snakes and their parents. I've got one breeder who's so good that he sent me pictures of the snakes eating, which I thought was really impressive. And most breeders, I think, are so keen to please us. There's only one or two cowboys out there and flippers, I call them flippers, who don't really care about the snakes, and these are the ones to watch for. The ones you want to go for is a reputable breeder who you can trust, because the community is very close. If anyone messes us around or we get messed about, it gets into the industry and it can be very damaging to the reputation of the breeder. So we have a very high standard of making sure that the customer is always happy, that we do our level best to put anything right, that we refund money if we need to, but of course there has to be a legitimate reason. But I think going into the facility, again, it's a question of choice and etiquette. And I think we can do other things to give us the comfort that we're actually buying from a reputable dealer by communicating with the groups, getting a recommendation from a friend. Our YouTube channel shows complete transparency. You can see what we do, how we do it, and you get a feel for, hopefully, that we've got high husbandry standards here, and therefore you can have confidence buying a snake from us. So YouTube has a great blessing that we don't have to allow people to come in, because you're coming in every day anyway. So there's lots of advantages in how to go about it, but I do take on board Chris's point. Transparency is absolutely essential. Now, there was another good point by DJ Pythons. Now, he said he had a lock within 10 minutes this week, so congratulations on a very fast lock. And it was from a stinger bee. He's got a lovely stinger bee. And I said to him at the time, I reckon the stinger bee is definitely living up to its name, because it was in and out pretty quickly and had a deep penetration. But that was supposed to be a joke, by the way, Mandy. Probably didn't appreciate that. So, his question was, when do you give your breeders, when do you rest your breeder females and give them a year off? So that's a really good question, and I responded and I said, well, it depends on how she feels and what behaviour and what vibe she's giving, because some girls want to breed every year and they'd be disappointed if they couldn't have sex. I mean, imagine if you didn't have sex for a whole year. How would you feel? I think I'd feel very frustrated. I think I'd feel unloved, and I'd be very sad. Now, I'm not saying that animals would be doing the same, but there's a side to me that says that you have to follow what your animal wants to do. So if your animal is strong, healthy, and in good condition, I can't see any problems breeding every year, as long as she's up for it. Same with the boys. I've got 3 boys in there at the moment who are gagging to make love, and I've got to find girls for them, because I'm worried about their well-being, not about the combinations or the genetics. I'm more concerned about them being able to pass their genes and to feel a sense of happiness and joy in their posterity. So there's another side to this that is, you've got to think slightly out of the box, think what's going through their minds, how they're feeling. It's actually quite damaging to a male who's gagging to go out and love his females, and he doesn't get an opportunity. So I feel for them. And I've got to do something about that, because I've got some lovely, beautiful males and I haven't got any girls at the moment. But I have in a way, because we've got lots of lovely girls coming in the background. Now, Mandy's going to tell me I've got 10 seconds, so this is probably going to move on to part 3. Have I got 10 seconds, Mand? Or is it still going? Okay, we'll keep going. Mandy will tell me when the camera stops, we'll stop. But anyway, so to answer your question, my feeling is play it by ear, find out what the animal wants to do, and look at the condition of the animal. And we've got 1 minute, do you say? Yeah, 1 minute to go. So the next part we're going to do, we're going to talk about, let me have a look. Yeah, we've got 2 questions. Yeah, I had a question from Kaz and I had a question from Colin, and they both are raising questions on RI issues, and that's our next second part of our Care 2 series. I'm going to do a special video on how to diagnose the causes of RI, so please join us, and hopefully that'll be later today. If not, it'll be tomorrow. Thank you so very much for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed the video. There'll be a few more jokes coming as well, but we're going to look at the RI issues. Bye bye for now.